know you from TV or whatever.
Probably not. I'm Kurt Weiss, and I'm serving as the appointment of Mr. Wecken on the library board. I just to give you a quick synopsis, we're right now we're running with the amended budget deficit of $37,437. Much to my dismay. You know, we're not finding ways. I have worked for the last 6 months to try to find ways to trim the budget to try to make ends meet because we don't have additional revenue sources, but we did get an additional 5% from the partners. With that additional 5%, we're still 37,000 some odd dollars short. At the last meeting, they voted to increase salaries by 2% to the tune of $7,000 approximately. I voted against that. I said I would vote for it if we could find another way to save the money in the budget, and a couple of us voted against it, but it was approved. The other thing that was approved at the last meeting was a 5-year lease with the city, which I opposed again because as it stands right now, running a deficit, we won't be able to afford that lease for 5 years, maybe for a couple, and then we won't be able to afford it. So I was opposed to that as well. I thought that was irresponsible to sign a 5-year lease when we can't balance the books. I did ask a couple of things to be put on the agenda this month in a couple weeks to try to again, save some money, and hopefully we'll get some cooperation from the other members. I'm not sure when this individual was hired, but there was a person, her name was Allie. She was hired as a marketing promotion person for the library. She's resigned effective the end of last year. I've asked that it be put on the agenda that whether or not we should fill that position or let it go vacant. It is my opinion, I think, that unless I can be convinced otherwise, that we should not fill that position. I don't see any reason for it. So hopefully we can save some money there. We found out that a couple months ago, we're part of the Indian Head Federated Library System, the Moore Consortium, which exchanges videos and books within the Indian Head territory, I guess you'd call it, in Wisconsin. And they raised their fees to us by 27%, which is unacceptable, I think. And they've said it was because of doing e-books and some other things that they found it necessary to raise it by 20%. And it's a lot in our budget. It went from $55,000 to $67,000, $67,490. It's a huge increase. So again, I asked that John Thompson, I think is his name, who is the head of the Moore Consortium, come to our meeting in a couple weeks and explain to us why they did that. So hoping that we can make some headway at this next meeting to trim some costs. And my goal is to make the budget whole, to stay there. You know, at the last meeting, there was some information from Barb Peterson that potentially there's some fundraising again from the Library Foundation. I don't hold my breath on that because it was the same conversation 5 years ago. They just wanted to see a commitment on behalf of the partners. The commitment was made on behalf of the partners, but they never fundraised a dime, really. And I just think that we're going down that same path again. I hope not, but we'll see. We'll see if the money is, if they start to raise money for ongoing expenses, which is the change now hopefully they'll make. So, and that's what I have. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me. I'd be happy to answer them.
What's the thinking of someone when you have a $36,000 deficit in your budget? Is that what you're saying right there?
$37,437.
And you spend more money. How does that work?
I don't think it works.
Common sense doesn't tell me to do that.
No. We can't, you know, we're kind of like the federal government. The only problem is we can't print money, we can't borrow it. So we're just going to, in the long run, not be able to afford that building. And services are going to have to be cut in order to stay there because we've signed a lease with the city, which I thought was...
the employee that resigned, what's the cost to replace her?
I don't know that. We're going to discuss that at the meeting. we're gonna have that information available for us at the meeting. So I haven't gotten that information.
Do you know if it was a full-time position?
Ally, I believe, was a full-time position, yeah. So, you know, well, no, I take that back. She's a part-time position, because there's only 3 full-time positions there. So she was part-time. I'm not sure how many hours she was working, though.
It was a 5-year lease?
It's a 5-year lease, and, yeah, I just, you know, and it's $132,000, plus tied to the CPI increase every year. So it's going to increase basically every year according to the Consumer Price Index. As it stands right now, having seen that few of them, I mean, the only person to vote with me to vote against the salary increase and against the lease was Marion Shaw from town of Hudson. And I would say, as it stands right now, seeing the unwillingness of the city representatives and some of the other people on the board to make the necessary adjustments to the budget, as it stands right now, maybe it'll change. I would advocate to the village not to increase funding until we see some movement there. I think it's irresponsible to now ask the taxpayers to pick up the rest of that when that wasn't the case to begin with. That wasn't the agreement when we moved into that building. So, I mean, a 5%, you know, you can't give a 5% increase to the library.
Indian Head book program, explain a little bit more about that.
Well, we're going to find out a lot more about that. I have been asking for specifics about that for 2 months now, and haven't gotten it. But this individual, John Thompson from the Indian Head Federated Library System, is going to be there in a couple weeks. Our meetings are televised, so you can watch them if you want, or come down there. It's an exchange that if you go to our library and you want to get a video and it's not available in our library, they can look it up, or you can look it up online and see if it's available at the member libraries, and they can transfer that to our library so it's available to you. Same thing with books. My biggest concern is that
That's all that service does?
that's correct. Yeah, that's all they do, and it's a big expense. I mean, I looked at their website, and I see 13 full-time employees. Maybe they have more. I see a lot of expense there that might be not necessary. The thing that's bothered me a little bit about what I've seen is that, and I think the same thing is going to hold true with this MORE consortium, it's called, or Indian Head Federated Library System, is that a good percentage of that is video. It's a video exchange. And if it turns out to be a video exchange, I don't think that was what it was intended for, but it turned out to be that way, just as a lot of videos are now being rented, so to speak, for free from a library as we put 2 video stores out of business. So we'll find that out. I've asked for those numbers, and we'll find out from John Thompson what, because if the vast majority of that is for videos, I would question why we're a member.
Might just fix your budget.
And if people can't afford, you know, if they can't find the video at our library, they may just have to get it go to Redbox, or they might just have to get it off of Netflix. I don't think the taxpayers should be footing the bill for a video exchange, if that's what it turns out to be. But
Anybody else on the board? Question? Thanks a lot, Kurt.